Hello, and welcome to the Godly Playroom at First United Church, here in the city of Wetaskiwin, where we serve both the county and the city. My name is Ruth Lummox, and we are gathered on the traditional lands of the Wetaskiwin people, the people of the Sundance culture, who live amongst us and to whom we live a bit to the north of. And we are grateful for the generations of people who have stewarded this land, lived and learned and cared for it. And we seek to be people that will also continue to care for this earth. I wonder if you notice anything that's changed. We are in the time of the color purple. And everything changes. Today's story helps us get into that season, that time. It is sometimes called the season of Lent. But before we begin, I wonder what you need to be ready to hear a story today. Perhaps you want to get a candle that you can light to remind you of the light that comes to us. Perhaps you want to have some materials ready for your response time later. Scissors, paper, glue stick, paints, crayons, watercolor, tissue paper, clay, all different kinds of things that you might choose to do your work with. Sometimes just to sit and to listen for God and to take a deep breath in and let it go. It can be big work. You might also want to have a feast or something to share with us later. It doesn't have to be elaborate. And actually, in the season of Lent, many people fast. That is to go without food for a period of time. If you decide to do that, make sure you check it out with some of the people who care about you. If you're under 18, you might want to check it out with the adults in your life. If you're over 18 or under 18, you might want to check it out just to make sure that there are no medical complications for you with fasting. Because there are some medications that need to be taken with food or on a full stomach. But fasting has been a way people of many spiritual traditions have been intentional, I guess, about, and as a way of coming close to God. Some people fast for prolonged periods of time. Some people do it only for a short time. Sometimes when I fast, I will just make sure I drink water. There have been occasional times I've fasted without anything intake. But that's usually a time when I'm either not very busy or out and about doing things. That experience of fasting is biblically based. Jesus goes into the wilderness for 40 days with very little to eat or drink. It was part of many indigenous cultures when someone went on a vision quest to fast for a time of purification or until they received a vision. And it continues to be a way that many people seek to come close to God, to simplify their lives. But sometimes it is enough to simply relax and to be in the holy presence and to know ourselves held and loved. So I'll invite you to take another deep breath. And let that go. And maybe a third one. And roll those shoulders and that neck slowly a bit. And let it go. There's a lot going on in our lives, in the world around us. And it's easy for us to absorb that tension, other people's sadness, our own griefs or anxieties. And our body tends to store that for us and help us carry it. But we need to find ways to look after our body then, so that it can do that big work. So maybe one more deep breath. Singers like to do a deep breath and then kind of a musical sigh as you let it go. It's a good way to relax your vocal cords and to relax your facial muscles. Well, if I get any more relaxed, I'm not sure I'll remember the story, so perhaps we better get started. Are you ready? Once, there was someone who said such amazing things and did such wonderful things that people began to follow him. And the more they followed him, the more they wondered who he was. And so one time they just had to ask, "Who are you?" One time, when they asked him that question, he said, "I am the light." The light embraces and warms the darkness, and the darkness holds the light, that all will be well. I'm going to put the candle back on the shelf so that we have a little more room to work with our story today. And did you notice? Everything changes in Lent. Well, today's story needs an underlay, and so we have this big stretch of dark here, so that it will be a little bit easier for you to see the story. Now is the time of the color purple. Sometimes we call this the season of Lent. It is a time of getting ready. Purple is also the color of royalty. We are getting ready for the coming of one who is like a king, and his going, and his coming again. And that sounds like a mystery. This is the season when we are getting ready to come close to or enter into the mystery that is Easter. So let's look inside and see how long it does take for us to get close to that mystery that is Easter. And what does Lent make when we put it all together? look at this. It is very purple. And it looks, I don't know, like wings maybe? Butterfly wings? Or maybe it's a mountain range. Or a home. There's another one. Oh. I think I heard another one in there. Did you hear it too? There it is. Oh. They all look so different. I wonder if there's more. There's at least one more. Oh. That makes 1, 2, 3, 4. Perhaps 4 weeks in Lent. That's the same amount of time it takes for us to get ready to come close to the mystery of Christmas. Perhaps the mystery of Easter is the same. There's another one. Oh, no, now there are 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in Lent. It's bigger than Advent. I wonder if the mystery of Christmas is not quite as big. The mystery of Easter is even bigger. Well, that's probably all there is. There's still another one. It looks different again. There are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I wonder if there's another one. That's all there is. So there are 6 weeks in Lent, in a time of getting ready for the mystery of Easter. Easter must be a huge mystery. And during that time, we're getting ready to know more about the one who is Easter. And about ourselves. That one who is coming is like a king. But he wasn't the kind of king that most people expected. The purple is for royalty, but it can also be kind of a serious or an even sad color. Perhaps what is going to happen is sad. I wonder. Hmm. I wonder what it makes when we put it all together. It makes a cross. That is sad. Jesus grew up and became a man, and he died on a cross. And that is very sad. But it's also kind of wonderful in an Easter kind of way. Because even though Jesus had died, his friends discovered he was still with them, just as he is with us today. And so Easter isn't just sad, it's also happy. That color of sadness becomes the color of pure celebration. And that changes everything. It turns things inside out and right side up again. The color of that sad seriousness becomes pure celebration. But it also brings that sadness together with that happiness to make joy. And there is so much joy in Easter that we can't keep it to just one Sunday. And so it spills out into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more weeks, all the way to Pentecost. I wonder what you liked best about this story. I wonder if you've ever seen these colors before in the church. I wonder what's the most important part of this story. I wonder if there's any part of this story we can leave out and still have all the story that we need. You know you can pause the story at any time if you want to do some more sharing or thinking about these questions. I wonder what part of this story is especially for you today, or where you are in this story. You won't get to hear this story until a few weeks from when I'm actually telling it. But I'm recording it on the day that a country fired missiles into another country. And I am feeling a little bit the weight of the sadness and the seriousness that is Lent. And so I need to remember that this is there as well. I wonder how your sad or serious times work together with the happy times to make joy. I wonder where joy comes from. Sometimes I would like to take a fast from the pain and sadness of the world. But this story reminds me that there is both sad and happy, serious and celebration. And God is continually at work to help me rediscover joy. I'm going to put the story away now. You begin to think about what your work might be in response to this story. You might like to sit and offer prayers for the people around the world who are struggling with sadness or trying to rediscover joy. You may find some art materials and want to create something and simply see where it takes you. Almost anything around your house can be turned into art. But if it belongs to somebody else, you should probably ask them first. That's just good etiquette. I'm not sure why countries forget that when they get to be a country. All those weeks that are some of the weeks of Easter, that time of celebration, but also the weeks of Lent. Welcome back. I hope you found something for your response time. I found some things I haven't worked with for a very long time. I got some paper and my cleanup cloths for a change. But I found some pastels. I haven't worked with pastels for a very long time. And this is a great set because one of the reasons I usually don't like working with pastels is because they get your fingers all dirty. But these are like a pencil crayon. So they're kind of easy to work with, but you still get that pastel effect. So I'm just going to take a moment here and find some of the colors that I want to work with. That's interesting. For this season of Lent, there's not too many colors here that would be considered purple. Huh. Interesting. Well, we'll see what we can do with some of the other colors that we have. And I also found, this is from a Lent at Home kit maybe from last year, all different sizes and shapes to be able to do mandala drawings. So I'm going to pick out a couple of those as well, so that I have them. We'll start with a really big one. But you could use almost anything at home. I've done mandalas with all the different size plates in my cupboard. There might be boxes or lids or things that you find that are round. You might find some that are rectangular shapes or square shapes. I've got a couple of different size circles here. And I think I'm going to leave the square shapes for now. Oh, I even have some heart shapes. So once you have your big circle, you want to start filling it in, and sometimes I keep the circles in the circles, and sometimes I let them overlap on the outside. It's a good practice for me because I like to go fast about most things. And when I go fast, the circles move. And it doesn't work quite as well. I was just thinking about the play on words that happens in another story that we tell during Lent. And while I like to go fast, I don't always like too fast. As in, not the speed, but to go without eating. I wonder what other plays on words you know. And when you're doing your mandala, you can make it quite uniform and create a pattern. Or you might just see where the spirit takes you. A little bit like our holy baptism story gone full out. I wonder what you're noticing in this time of Lent. Lent officially began on Wednesday. Sometimes we call it Ash Wednesday. Maybe this reminds us of the ashes. Every year, I make some ashes. I take some of last year's palm branches. I always try to save a few. And I burn them. I have to be really careful. I try to burn them outside. They're very smelly when they burn. And it takes a lot of ash, or a lot of palms, to make very much ash. Let's see if we have some green here. Because by the time the palm branches have sat for all that time, they're getting pretty dried out. We take the green of the palm and the flame and we mix it with a little bit of oil. You can do that with your pastels too. Makes them a little bit transparent. And then you can make the sign of the cross on your hand. Sometimes we do it on the forehead. And we remember Jesus going into the wilderness, the beginning of that season of Lent, when he crosses the Jordan and goes into the wilderness to discover more about who he is and what his work will be. And then he comes back across the Jordan and he goes to the temple in Jerusalem where he'd always gone to worship. And while he's there, he reads from the scroll of Isaiah. It's the passage about the coming of the Messiah. And when he sits down, he says something like, "Today in your hearing this scripture has been fulfilled." And the people of Nazareth are both amazed that he speaks so well. Because he is just the carpenter's son after all. But they're also angry. Does he think he is the Messiah? I mean, after all, he is Mary and Joseph's son, not the Son of God. so they think. And they get so angry, they want to throw him off a cliff. But Jesus calmly walks through the crowd and up into the hills. And then we know he had such big work to do that he knew he needed help. So he set out to find the right people to help him. Some of those were fisher folk. There was a tax collector. Women who had been ill, like Mary Magdalene, and then Jesus healed them. There were other women who had financial independent means to support themselves, to support Jesus. They followed him. And one day, Jesus took some of his disciples, Peter and James and John, and they went up a mountain. And while they were there, the light overshadowed them. They saw Moses and Elijah standing with Jesus. They were bathed in light. And then there was a cloud, and a voice out of the cloud that said, "This is my beloved. Listen to him." And they were so afraid that they fell on their knees. And then Jesus came and touched them and said, "Get up. Don't be afraid." And he led them down the mountainside. They headed towards Jerusalem for the last time. And that's usually where we pick up the story in the season of Lent. In the travels of Jesus in his last trip to Jerusalem, and his teaching in the temple in the last week of his life. I'm going to pause the video while I finish my work. You might want to pause it while you finish yours. And then when you're ready, come on back and we'll share our prayers and feast together. Welcome back. Thanks for taking some time to go a little more deeply into the story. It is a rich story. And the more we travel with it, the more it seems to become part of who we are. It takes a while to digest a story, but not so long to digest our feast. So let's take a moment in prayer together. You again might want to pause the video while you offer prayers in your household. Sometimes we do a squeeze prayer so that we pray our prayer and squeeze the hand of the person beside us and they know it's their turn. Or we simply say Amen and they know. Sometimes we speak our prayers out loud. Sometimes we hold them in silence. Sometimes we sing them. For all your goodness, God, we give you thanks. Thanks for the food we eat and for the friends we meet. For each new day we greet, we give you thanks. Well, I definitely need to work with my hands a little bit after getting all that oil and pastel color on them. I wonder what you have for feast today. Curiously, when I got thinking about fasting, I ended up making myself a huge feast. So I have a banana, or I have some apple slices and a muffin. It's a banana muffin. I wonder if your household has any traditions around the season of Lent. Some people do Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday. That's what it means in the French to English. And Shrove Tuesday, sometimes we call it. We have our pancakes. There was a time in history where people would get rid of all those fatty foods because during Lent, again, they sometimes fasted or had a much simpler diet. Some people give up something for Lent. Some people don't eat meat during Lent. Some people give up TV or screen time. Some people commit to doing something in Lent, maybe to pray more, or to start a new prayer practice, or be part of a study group. Some people get out and exercise more. It's a little easier. The daylight hours are a little bit longer now. At some point, we're going to trust the weather warms up and stays getting warmer. I wonder what your traditions are around the season of Lent. I tend to like it because it is the time of the color purple, and as you can tell, purple is one of my favorite colors. But I also wear purple any time of the year. I am hoping that as we move through this season of Lent, there are signs not only of spring, but of a deeper wisdom, of peace between nations, between neighbors, more patience, a willingness to listen before we speak, to think about the needs of others. Or how our behavior might affect somebody else. There's a passage, I think it's in Isaiah, where God has been quite frustrated with the people. Because some of them go around in sackcloth and ashes, and they fast and they weep and they wail and they moan and they make a big to-do. But they don't treat people very well. And so God says, is this not the fast I choose, to loose the bonds that enslave others, to bring freedom to the captives? Justice to the oppressed. Lent can be a time when we think about some of those traditions and why we do them, and whether they really honor God, or they're just kind of like we think we're getting religious brownie points somehow. However you decide to enter Lent, I hope you will continue to grow more deeply into your relationship with God, with the one who is Easter, and learn more about yourself. Well, I'm not quite finished, but I think we're running out of time. As much as we like to say, we have all the time we need, we don't always have all the time we want. Perhaps Lent will be a time when you discern how to use your time best on God's behalf. So I'll invite you to take another deep breath. Thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this circle of learners and wanderers. And our time draws to a close. I invite you to watch what happens when I change the light. As we head in this time of the color purple, where we are getting ready to know the one who is Easter. We are getting ready for the coming and the going and the coming again of someone who is like a king, but not the kind of king people expected. We look to the light to help us find our way. And we hold in prayer the peoples of the world who are seeking to be light, to be peace, to make God's love and kindness visible. Watch what happens when everything changes. God bless. Be well and look after one another.